From Amy Cheryl Duncan, who exposed her husband Tim Duncan for liking.
So is Tim Duncan bisexual? His wife, there are rumors that his wife said that.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard, who was exposed for allegedly hooking up with men while married.
Are you gay, bro?
And what I do in my personal life is nobody's fucking
Thank you.
business.
Thank you.
This isn't just about NBA greatness. It's about what happens when the spotlight turns toward private lives, rumors, and the stories players never control. Tim Duncan wasn't just great, he was legendary. 5 championships, 2 MVPs, 15 All-Star selections, and a playing style so precise and fundamental that the league literally nicknamed him the Big Fundamental. No flash, no drama, no noise, just dominance. And off the court, he matched that same energy, silent, private, almost invisible in a league built on attention. For nearly 2 decades, he was the definition of controlled silence in professional sports. Then everything cracked in March 2013 that while the Spurs were deep in a playoff push, Duncan's wife, Amy, filed for divorce in San Antonio, citing conflict of personalities. On paper, it looked simple. Behind the scenes, it wasn't. What followed was a swirl of legal tension and private investigations. Reports surfaced that Duncan's camp had even brought in a private investigator, with parts of his personal circle coming under scrutiny. At the same time, gossip outlets began pushing even more explosive claims, anonymous allegations, suggesting Amy had long been aware of rumors involving a same-sex relationship between Duncan and a close male friend from his Wake Forest days. None of it was ever proven in court. But in the world of celebrity, proof often comes second to perception. The divorce was eventually finalized quietly in August 2013 inside a courthouse office, away from cameras, and deliberately kept low profile at the request of both sides. But the whispers didn't stay contained. Years later, the rumors still lingered enough that former teammate Danny Green was even asked about Duncan's personal life during an interview on The Breakfast Club, showing just how far the...
So is Tim Duncan bisexual?
I didn't hear anything about it. I just recently heard about it. Somebody saying rumors, something.
Green hadn't gotten the full story yet, but Charlemagne was ready.
His wife, there are rumors that his wife said that.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Green's response was measured, loyal, about as much as you'd expect from a teammate.
Would it bother you if he was?
I mean, Timmy's Tim. To me, I'm not gonna look at him any differently.
But Green did acknowledge what was clearly happening in the background.
He's going through some stuff, and that's what happens when you go through a divorce, and sometimes it gets ugly.
And Charlemagne, in his trademark fashion, put the whole situation into plain language.
That's the first thing a woman's gonna say when she wants to slander you. Either you're gay, you got a little penis, or
you
you're
have
broke.
herpes.
Next on the list is Dwight Howard. If Tim Duncan's story is about silence and control, Dwight Howard's is the complete opposite, because very little about Dwight Howard's personal life has ever stayed
Is this what
quiet.
you want to talk about?
No, I don't want to talk about that,
So
bro.
then why are we talking about it?
Because you went viral off of that, bro.
He entered the league as a phenomenon and left it as a contradiction the public couldn't stop dissecting. Dwight Howard was the #1 overall pick in the 2004 NBA draft, selected by the Orlando Magic, and quickly evolved into one of the most dominant centers of his era. With 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 8 All-Star selections, and a defensive presence that could flip the momentum of an entire game. He wasn't just elite, he was unavoidable on the court. But the spotlight that followed him off the floor told a very different story. Over the years, his personal life became constant tabloid fuel. Between 2007 and 2013, Howard fathered 5 children with 5 different women. In late 2024, he publicly admitted that his choices hadn't reflected the example he wanted to set for his kids, while still expressing love for all of them. One of the most public and controversial relationships was with Royce Reed, an Orlando Magic dancer and later a reality TV personality from Love and Hip Hop. She is the mother of his son, Braylon. Their relationship spilled into legal battles after Howard won a 2010 judgment against her for speaking publicly about their private life in violation of their agreement. Even after that ruling, the conflict didn't fade. Across interviews and podcast appearances over the years, Reed made a series of allegations about Howard's private behavior in social circles, including claims tied to parties involving gay and transgender individuals. At one point, she suggested his sexuality spanned what she described as the full alphabet. Her statements, however, came from a former partner, not a spouse. Howard's only legal marriage came much later. In January 2025, he married Amy Luciani, known publicly as Amber Howard. The relationship unraveled quickly, ending in divorce filing just 2 months later. WY March 2026, Luciani went live on Instagram with explosive allegations referencing alleged drug use, showing what she claimed was cocaine, and stating that Child Protective Services had been involved with the household multiple times. Her claims focused on drugs and parenting concerns, not sexuality. The most serious legal accusation tied to Howard's sexuality, however, came from a different source entirely. IN 2023. A man named Stephen Harper filed a civil lawsuit alleging sexual assault stemming from an encounter in 2021 at Howard's home in Georgia. Howard testified under oath that sexual activity did occur, but insisted it was fully consensual. The case was later dismissed with prejudice in August 2024. On the court, he built a Hall of Fame resume. Off it, his name became part of a far more complicated narrative, one shaped.
And what I do in my personal life is nobody fucking
Thank you.
business.
Thank you.
The lack of an openly gay active NBA player since Jason Collins retired more than a decade ago, in his view, reflects something deeper than individual choice. It points to a structural issue rooted in culture, consequences, and who gets to shape the narrative around honesty in professional men's sports, and at what cost. Even nearly 20 years after his memoir, John Amici remains the first and only former NBA player to have publicly shared his story by choice. That silence from others in the same position says more than any interview possibly could. But the distinction between Amici and Jason Collins is crucial. Amici spoke after his career had ended. Collins chose to speak while still an active player. That gap between former and active is exactly why Collins' decision carries lasting significance. Drafted 18th overall by the Houston Rockets in 2001, Collins spent 13 seasons in the league as a 7-foot center known less for scoring and more for defense, physicality, and doing the unseen work that helped his teammates succeed. He reached the NBA Finals.
You released a video of you and DeJuan Blair in the bed. Angel Love from Basketball Wives, baby daddy.
This was my husband. This was going to be my husband.
Collins published a first-person essay in Sports Illustrated that opened with 12 words that changed professional sports.
He brought somebody in your house?
In my bed. And you're cheating and lying to me, saying that you're out of town and you're 9 minutes down the street.
He brought somebody that was 400 pounds?
A big, thick, chunky guy.
The response was unlike anything that had come before it in American professional sports. President Obama.
Collins made history in Sports Illustrated with these 12 words. I'm a 34-year-old NBA center, I'm black, and I'm gay.
Also a former NBA player, didn't hesitate.
Today, reaction from around the league was swift and mostly supportive, with Collins' twin brother Jaren, a former NBA player himself, tweeting very proud of you, and Kobe Bryant tweeting, don't suffocate who you are because of the ignorance of others.
He wasn't just wearing a number, he was carrying a message. Jason Collins chose 98 on his jersey deliberately. It wasn't a sign, it was a tribute. A silent but powerful reminder of 1998, the year Matthew Shepard, a young gay man in Wyoming, was brutally murdered in a hate crime. Every time Collins stepped onto the court, that number spoke for him. In February 2014, everything changed. He signed with the Brooklyn Nets and made history as the first openly gay athlete to play in any of America's 4 major professional sports leagues. He appeared in 22 games, then quietly stepped away from the game later that year. Years later, in May 2025, he married his longtime partner, Brunson Green. But life took another turn just months after he was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma, one of the most aggressive forms of brain cancer. He sought experimental treatment in Singapore, and by early 2026, reports suggested his condition had started responding. Through it all, he's faced the world the same way he always has: direct, honest, and on his own terms. And then the story shifts halfway across the world. Isaac Humphries was born in Sydney in 1998. He rose through elite basketball ranks at Kentucky, had a brief NBA run with the Atlanta Hawks in 2019, and later returned to Australia to build a strong career in the NBL, where he became one of the league's standout centers and a co-captain of the Adelaide 36ers. But the moment that defined him didn't happen in the NBA, it happened in a locker room in Melbourne. .in November.
One of the best players in the NBL, Isaac Humphries, has now also become one of the few elite Australian sportsmen to come out as gay. The Melbourne United player is the only openly gay basketballer in the NBL who is currently competing in a top-tier men's league.
What Humphries said in the interviews that followed made clear the decision was years in the making. He described depression. He described hiding. Did he describe performing a version of himself that was never quite real? He talked about coming close to not surviving his mid-20s. And then he described choosing differently and choosing to do it publicly.
Decided that if I'm going to join a team, that I'm going to come out publicly and just make sure people know. Sorry.
Because what he wanted people to know was not
that you can live and you don't have to hide.
His CEO at Melbourne United appeared on ABC News Australia and spoke about what the moment meant.
And the importance around that, and the fact that Isaac really wants to use his platform to make a difference, and as we said, around young boys and girls knowing that they can be who they want to be. It's an exciting journey for us all.
And continues to perform at a high level. He was named team co-captain. His career did not suffer for his honesty. His platform only grew. He is one of only a tiny handful of openly gay men competing at the elite level of professional basketball anywhere in the world right now. In a sport where that number should, by any statistical logic, be significantly higher, his presence means something that goes well beyond whatever he puts up in the box score. If you enjoyed watching this video, then go ahead and click on subscribe for more.